On to another story now. Chinese President Xi Jinping has warned top EU officials not to engage in confrontation as he met with the presidents of the European Commission and Council, Ursula von der Leyen and Charles Michel, in Beijing. Now, this was their first face-to-face China-EU summit in 4 years.
中欧要做互利合作的伙伴，不断增强政治互信，凝聚战略共识，夯实利益纽带，排除各种干扰，加强对话和合作，造福双方人民。要共同应对全球性挑战，携手促进世界稳定繁荣。
We will discuss how to rebalance our economic relationship. China is the EU's most important trading partner, but there are clear imbalances and differences that we must address. We both recognize the importance of de-risking and strengthening the resilience of our economies.
Trade high on the agenda at the summit, along with other geopolitical issues, from human rights and Beijing's close ties with Russia to rising tensions in the Taiwan Strait, as well as the disputed South China Sea. For more, Alex Cadier joins us. He's live for us in Brussels. Alex, how will the summit address tensions between China and the EU, specifically over those trade imbalances?
Well, looking at the language, looking at the way the European Union has approached this, it seems as though they're going to approach those tensions very cautiously and very slowly. It sounds, based on the language we're seeing from the European Commission President, the European Council President Charles Michel. And they were also very clear that the stakes are very high. Ursula von der Leyen, the Commission President, talking about the $2.5 billion a day trading relationship between the European Union and China, describing China as the EU's most important trading partner, adding that those two major economies and how they interact with each other has a direct impact on the prosperity and security of their people. Also talking about trade imbalances. Charles Michel, just a few moments ago at the press conference, wrapping up this summit for those two presidents, saying that the EU has a 400 billion euro trade deficit with China. That is an issue for the EU. But whilst acknowledging that the stakes are very high, they also acknowledges that the differences are quite stark. Differences on geopolitics. Charles Michel saying that they raised Russia's invasion of Ukraine, urging China to use its influence constructively to engage with the Ukrainian peace proposal. On those issues, trying to suggest to their Chinese counterpart what they would like to see done differently, and also acknowledging the importance of that trading relationship, as well as trying to find some changes, some improvements. The fact that the summit is happening in of itself is an achievement, according to EU officials. They told me we're not looking for major breakthroughs or deliverables, but rather having those constructive conversations. Charles Michel wrapping up his remarks just a few moments ago, saying that progress was made in areas of shared interest and that they will continue to work to make their relationship fairer and more reciprocal.
All right, Alex, thank you for that. Alex Cadier there reporting for us live from Brussels.
Well, let's get China's perspective on the summit. And for that, we speak with CNA's Jeremy Koh. Jeremy, are we realistically expecting any breakthroughs in relations following this summit?
Well, certainly we're not expecting major breakthroughs. EU officials had said ahead of the summit that they're not expecting any major breakthroughs. But this meeting in itself is highly significant because it's the first in-person EU-China summit in 4 years. And as my colleague Alex alluded to earlier, EU officials had spoke very cautiously. And certainly it appears that even while there were no major breakthroughs, this year's summit was definitely not as acrimonious as last year. If you recall, last year's summit was very terse and very frosty. And EU diplomat Joseph Borrell had described it as a dialogue of the deaf after the summit. Now, earlier this week, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi had touted the visit as a chance to push China-EU relations to a new level with new prospects. He also called for the two sides to stay calm and to focus on pragmatic cooperation. And earlier today, Chinese President Xi Jinping called on China and the EU to provide greater stability for the world, stronger impetus for development, and more inspiration and support for global governance. So it clearly shows a willingness on the Chinese side to improve relations. But will this be enough to lead to any major breakthroughs? Well, if you recall, news broke on the eve of the summit yesterday that Italy, which is the bloc's third largest economy, had withdrawn from China's vast and ambitious Belt and Road Infrastructure Initiative. Italy was the only member among the G7 group of nations to be part of China's BRI, and by withdrawing from the BRI project, it indicates a setback in Beijing's relations with the EU. And asked about that today, Beijing has slammed the smearing and undermining of the project. But this meeting today also comes as EU has undertaken over the last few months a broad recalibration of the policy towards China. Over the last few months, EU officials have repeatedly said that they aim to de-risk their economic ties to China, particularly after the war in Ukraine exposed Europe's energy dependence on Russia. And earlier this year, the bloc began to push to de-risk European supply chains from China amid rising concerns about Beijing's global ambitions. So what we're seeing today is the two sides are very far apart in their positions, and clearly no major breakthroughs are expected. Today's meeting is just a first step in a long process of rebuilding ties.
All right, appreciate the update. CNA's Jeremy Koh there.